Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today we're going to talk about the Final Four and what we saw yesterday from Houston, Duke, Florida, and Auburn. And then we're going to do the best contracts in the NBA as it currently sits. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this gonna be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you? Got a good night of college basketball on Saturday night, and then we got some really fun NBA draft takes. The Cooper Flag, Clutch Gene was called into question, and Walter Clayton Jr. got compared to Wade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons. So some good stuff, some interesting stuff from some national people there, but no, really, really good basketball games.
Some people that have definitely dived deeply into all of these players and have considered all of the context and are definitely firing off well-reasoned and well-thought-out takes. We're so back. We've never been more back.
Here's what I'll say about the clutch gene. I, too, was born without the clutch gene, just like Cooper Flag. In my freshman year, this was of high school, a little different, airballed 2 game-winning three-pointers. But I overcame that, and I was able to mutate my genetics to go on to hit multiple game-winning and game-tying shots throughout my career. And I just want Cooper Flag to know that if I can do it, he too can do it, and mutate those genetics to acquire the clutch gene for the rest of his career.
You can be the guy. You can be what Bryce Simon became. Cooper. That's what we all want here. That is what we all want here. Let's talk about the Final Four. Let's just jump in. We'll do it and talk through it.
Fun.
I honestly can't remember a Final Four with like 2 back-to-back better games. Like, I feel like one of them is typically a stinker. Just in my head, it's the first one is often like a 20-point game. I think back to like the Michigan State, Oklahoma one. The one featuring Buddy Hield is like the one that I think about all the time in regard to this. And I was really excited that we got 2 great games. I think that we have to start with Houston and Duke.
Okay.
Because that was one of the worst situations I've seen in a while. It kind of was a choke. There's not I think that we're fine just calling this a choke from Duke. It was what it was, right? They were up 9 with 2 minutes left. I think they were up 6 and had the ball with like a minute left. And Houston still came back and won. They were up 14, I think, at one point in the second half, like fairly late in the second half.
So I was just looking through it. There's a 59-45 after Tyrese Proctor makes a free throw at 8:17.
Yeah.
And then Cryer immediately bangs a 3 to make it 11, and then there's a TV timeout, and then it's 10, and then 8, and then 6, and then on down to what you are talking about.
Yeah, and I think that there were 4 things that happened here. Honestly, there's more than 4 things that happened here. There might be like 6 or 7. But the first thing for me, at least in terms of the comeback, like we'll talk about the greater context, like Kaman Maluach, like being terrible throughout the game was honestly probably Duke's biggest problem. But first and foremost, I thought the guard play down the stretch for Duke was terrible. I thought it was just genuinely really bad. You had a turnover from Tyrese Proctor. What was that? That was around like the 1.5 mark, 2-minute mark, somewhere in that vein. He goes down. He misses that free throw. The 1-and-1. Zion James like could not inbound the ball. That was like a total catastrophe to me. It felt like they never really figured out like they never figured out, the guards, how to like understand and dictate the tempo of the game. They really struggled with the pressure from Houston down the stretch to me. I think you can point a little bit to John Shire. Like I feel okay doing that. I'm someone who's like a massive Shire fan. I think he's done a really great job this season by and large with, you know, figuring out how to run the right actions at the right time. I felt like they went into their shell right around that 8-minute mark and really tried to slow the game down instead of continuing to try to score. I felt like they didn't, instead of just running their offense, I felt like they tried to slow it down. And part of what happens when you slow the game down, like people just say that, slow the game down. And like, what does that mean, right? Well, what happens when you slow the game down is that you shrink the shot clock on yourself, obviously while you're burning time from your opponent. You shrink the shot clock on yourself, which just gives you less time to run more secondary actions after the team obliterates your primary action, right? So all Houston really had to do, it felt like, was stop their primary action, and then they were okay. And then Duke didn't do anything beyond the primary. I hate when teams do this. It drives me completely insane. The third thing, and this is where we're going to start giving credit to Houston. Houston was just nails down the stretch. They were fantastic. I thought that JoJo Tugler, outside of that moment where he got his arm stuck in Zion James while James was inbounding the ball, I thought that he was unbelievable on defense in the final 5 minutes of this game. He was incredible for Houston. I thought that Jaywan Roberts throughout the game was amazing. He just embodies so much of Houston's physicality and strength and just what they're about as a program. He was great defensively on Cooper Flag. Tugler did a good job on Flag as well in the possessions where they got matched up. I thought that those two did an amazing job defensively. The guards were pretty good as well at just kind of gumming up what Duke's perimeter players were trying to do as well. Emmanuel Sharp was amazing down the stretch. He had 9 points, I think, in the final 2 minutes of this game. He was huge. He hit some massive shots. Jaywan Roberts obviously hits 2 free throws. It felt like a younger team of 18-year-olds against a team of 23-year-olds to me that had been there and that had dealt with it before. And then finally, it's fine with me to talk about the officiating. I didn't think this was a particularly well officiated game. I didn't think it was particularly, well officiated going toward Duke. The over the back call on Cooper Flag is absolutely bananas to me when you're letting Houston get away with murder on the perimeter. And it's fine. I'm okay with Houston getting away with murder in general. I'm fine with them playing a very physical brand of basketball and playing that style of defense. But you can't then start hitting Duke for these kind of ticky-tack fouls, with the primary one being the really terrible over the back call on Cooper Flag. There was also the Mason Gillis call as well. There were some few things that kind of went against Duke there from the officiating, but that's how this 64-55 game, where Duke is up 9 with 2 minutes left, turns into a 70-67 loss. That Shire's gonna have a tough time, I think, coming back from that one. That was a tough one.
Yeah, my thing with the foul is I think it also kind of cheated us out of just what could have been a really fun actual offensive possession, right? I think Houston was still going to end up with that rebound, even though Flag got his hand on it. And I think that's another reason why it didn't need to be called. I'm pretty sure, someone might correct me if I was wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Houston still was going to come down with it. Either way, it doesn't matter. Even if Duke was going to come down with it, I still think it was a bad call, but it just would have been a fun offensive possession with Houston having all the momentum. Down 1, can they go execute and get a bucket? Now, Roberts making both of those is really impressive. But yeah, I usually don't get into the officiating as well. That's probably the one call that stood out the most. There was one in the Florida game where I think, was it Houck had a block that wasn't even,
oh my god,
wasn't even close.
We'll talk about the Tony Padilla show in the other game. That was a disaster.
But yeah, to the Emmanuel Sharp point, 2:05, they're down by 9. He makes a layup. I think this was one where he actually attacked Cooper Flag and got downhill. 30 seconds later, makes 2 free throws. 13 seconds later, he makes 2 more free throws. And then 45 seconds later, he makes a huge 3 that puts him within 3. Like, that's a huge stretch of, 2-ish minutes, like not even, of basketball on the offensive end from Emmanuel Sharp. And again, not to get into both games, but I told someone this morning, what stood out to me as the biggest thing was the guard play, the veteran guard play for the teams that won in these games. LJ Cryer played 40, had 26 points, 6 of 9 from 3, and only had 1 turnover, even though he only had 1 assist. And I'm sure we'll talk about Walter Clayton Jr. when we talk about that Florida game. And I was talking to this person in the context of the transfer portal. How do you win big in college basketball now? And I realized that, both of those guys are transfers, right? Cryer started at Baylor and Walter Clayton Jr. started at Iona. If I'm a team going out into the NIL world and I want to win a national championship, I'm looking for the best veteran guard, like 3rd year, 4th year guard I can get to bring to my team based on what we just saw from those 2 guys. But specifically, those guys' ability to make jump shots, Sam. Like, I don't know how it translates to the NBA. We'll talk about that with Walter Clayton Jr. for sure. But in college hoops, when you have a guard like those 2 guys, it gives you a chance every single game. And then, like you said, I do kind of like the toughness that Houston plays with. Like, they're just physical. They're diving on the, and I thought Duke matched it for a lot of the game. But Houston just never backed down. And I love what Cryer said at the end of the game. I was talking to a KU fan actually this morning, and they made the same reference. Houston did this to Kansas during the middle of the season. I believe it was in Allen Fieldhouse even. So when you've been there, you've had the experiences, even though it's on a much bigger stage, you still feel like you have the ability to do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's right. Like, you look at the transfer portal right now, UCLA going out to get Donovan Dent, obviously Iowa bringing in Bennett Sturts, UConn, the big one here, getting Silas DeMary. Like, those are old guards that know how to play, right? So I hate doing this to Houston because it's exactly what Houston fans, I'm sure, are frustrated by. But I do have to talk more about Duke here.
Sure.
And just because look, like, we care more about the NBA, right? And
real quick though, I loved what Sampson said, and he did it. Here's what I appreciated about Sampson as somebody from a low major conference in Division I. I played in the Patriot League, low major. Like, he didn't, you could tell when he made that quote that some lower major conferences were running through his head, and he was like, don't say it, don't say it. And then he said some random, the Toy Poodle League or whatever, and then he shouted out his Big 12 brethren. Like, I really like that quote from him. He
I took it straight up as a shot at the ACC.
Well, I didn't know about that. Sure. I just took it like, I appreciate, like, he gave Duke love, but also said, like, hey, we're still here. We didn't play we played in the Big 12 and we were really good. Almost like you should have respected us more instead of doubting us. But I just thought that quote was funny because you could see him like, don't say one of these don't say Patriot League, don't say Ivy League, don't say it.
Okay. So I want to start with Cooper. Cooper was great in this game.
Yep.
Like, I have very few complaints with Cooper. Outside of the final shot, right? And honestly, he got a clean look at it. He just short-armed it.
He missed short.
You know what I mean?
What? I was joking, obviously, at the top, but I'm like, he missed short, and he was really good. I'll be honest. My biggest negative from that game is, and this is from my recent deeper dive. Like, I'm starting to question how high the on-ball defensive upside is with Cooper, but that's nitpicking how incredibly high this is.
We've been talking about that the
Correct.
whole year, though.
And
I think we saw that throughout the course of this game. There were a
agree.
couple times where he got just straight up beat.
Yep.
He is best roaming around defensively.
Agreed,
that's
100%.
He is so good at understanding how to cut off angles in help defense. I think that he stands very high in his stance and is not great at cutting off guys on the ball.
Agreed.
To me, I don't know if he's going to be an all defense guy.
I agree.
I think he's going to be a really plus defender, a very valuable defender, almost in the Jason Tatum-y mold. That is what it reminds me of a little bit, but he'll probably create more action plays, block steals than what Tatum does at the end of the day. So maybe he will end up kind of just getting the votes to do it. But on the ball, like there are real worries. I agree with you.
Okay, like Aaron Gordon's never made an all defense team, but I think we think he's a quality defender. Like off ball, like that was, if there was one thing I said from an NBA draft perspective that I took away, the missed shot had nothing to do with it. There was some creation things. I thought the jump shot in general looked really good. And I went, man, he's kind of gotten beat off the bounce a few more times than I would like. And I've landed in the same spot on him defensively as you. Those were my big takeaways for him.
And we say this, and he still had 5 stocks in this game. You know what I mean?
Like it's nitpicky, but we're talking face of the franchise, all NBA level, #1 pick stuff. Like that's how we have 100%. To evaluate this player.
Yeah. So 27 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks.
Only one
ridiculous
turnover.
Game. Caught to the line 8 times.
I say perfect from the free throw line.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous game. I thought Con was great, especially in the first half. 16 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 0 turnovers, 5 for 9 from the field. I feel like Shire's biggest, like the critique I have most from him, you know what I mean, is I thought he went away from Con. And I think Houston deserves credit. I think those defenders did a really, really good job on Con. I also think that like Shire didn't really run many primary actions to try and get him involved more late in the game. And that's what I think I would have preferred to see. Even more than like the Cooper stuff. Like why I feel like we didn't see any like 4-3 ball screens with like Con and Cooper, where like Con is the screener, right? Like that would have been an awesome, fun action to run. Maybe there was a couple that like I can't remember off the top of my head, but I feel like they didn't do a ton of that, to be honest, this year throughout, what we saw. So I feel like there were some missed opportunities to get Con involved. The guards, we talked about them, Tyrese Proctor, Sion James. Sion is in this draft. My guess is he'll be on a 2-way next year. Tyrese Proctor has a real decision to me. Like I will be interested to see what Proctor does. I think that he would probably go in the top 45. I'm just not totally sure, what that will look like at the end of the day, because part of the narrative now, unfortunately, with Proctor is that he does do this in big games and in big moments and struggles in these moments from time to time. He had the great start to the tournament, and he unfortunately has had a few moments like this in the tournament throughout his career where he's just kind of disappeared. The big one we have to talk about is Common Malawach. So I want to say up front, there was obviously a, report from Marco Rubio's desk that people from South Sudan that are on visas in the United States are going to, likely be, displaced in some respect, or anyone that is applied for a visa from the South Sudan, those visas are now canceled. I don't know if Malawach saw that before the game. I have no idea. I want to at least give him like some real grace in this moment, because I don't know what's happening there. I've talked to a lot of people about this situation. It seems incredibly complicated as we kind of go through this. I'm very interested to see what happens with this whole thing. I don't feel super comfortable talking about the conversations I've had yet, because it's a very delicate matter. Having said that, he was really bad last night. And I kind of think it's on Shire for continuing to play him when he was egregiously bad last night. There's just not another way to put it. He is 7'1" with a 7'6" wingspan and a 9'5" standing reach. And he had 0 rebounds against a Houston team where the entire thing you have to do against Houston is defensive rebound. I get it that he has very high hips, and we'll talk about these as issues as we go through this conversation. I get it that he has not a lot of lower body strength right now. You can't get moved around in the way that he did. Do you know what the plus minus numbers were from him yesterday, Bryce?
I don't. So 21 minutes, They lost by probably -8, -10.
He was a -20.
Oh, wow.
They lost his minutes by 20 points when he was on the court. And this is something that, like, we're not just saying now that Duke lost. I tweeted it in the first half that whenever they did that big 5-for-5 line change and him and Cooper came back after it was like an 11-point lead or something, and Houston made that call or made that little run to like bring it back. I think it was like maybe like they got it like 26 or 26 to 22 or something. I literally tweeted, okay, now that Maluach is on the court, they're starting to own the defensive glass again, or they're starting to own the offensive glass against Duke right now. Maluach like needs to figure out how to like anchor and deal with this. And he just never did. It was so obvious watching the game that he was just nowhere near there for this. He was not ready for the physicality. He got moved off of his spots everywhere. I don't think he read the ball off the rim all that well. Oh, by the way, like, it's not like he was hammering them on offense either. Like, he had one make, he had that, I think Cooper hit him on a roll early in the second half where he threw down and made a free throw after on an and one. I mean, like, people can say, oh my God, it's Houston. Like, they're so physical. NBA teams don't play like this. What the fuck happens when he runs into Rudy Gobert? What happens when he runs into a Domantas Sabonis or a Ivica Zubac or like
Isaiah Stewart, like, who's a backup center in the NBA? Like, maybe not every night, but the NBA is a physical league, especially in that area of the floor, Sam, right? Like, in that area of the floor, in that realm. Sure, do maybe they box out as no, they don't box you out. Know what they do? They two-hand shove you in the back whenever they're out of position, and you get it called one out of every 5 times. Listen, I was as high on Common as anybody coming into the year. And again, I'm going through my deep dives right now. And I came away like I'm getting into your realm of quote unquote low on him, because the thing is, I don't trust him to consistently catch the ball. And that's not just on lobs. It shows up all the time on rebounds. Or he, as like you pointed out, not reading the ball off the rim. Or like he just gets it tipped away because he doesn't get his hands there quick enough, or he doesn't get off the floor quick enough. And it showed out in this game. And listen, I will give him grace, because as a teacher, I understand that when you're dealing with stuff in your life, you can't always focus on things the way you want to. And I'm talking about my students. Like, I try to give them grace when I know there's this, that, or whatever. So
and I don't know if he knew that. Like, I want to be clear. Like, I don't know what he knew before the game or whatever.
We're not saying, but if he did, I would understand where his mind could potentially be in a different place. And I would give him a lot of grace. All I will say is some of the major negatives or issues we saw in that game are quite honestly things we've seen all season long, and things that have been in the scout all season long. And they just kind of got exacerbated by that Houston team that was, they are super physical. Tugler is really, like, to your point, there's going to be a lot of physical, like, bigs with length and athleticism. And it just makes me a little bit nervous with him.
Literally, so I'll just read you guys like the draft guide profile. I've written most of Maluach's already. In that vein, the biggest point of concern that I have with Maluach is his hand-eye coordination. Grew up playing soccer, so his footwork is actually advanced for someone who is as big as he is at this age, but hand-eye coordination is not there yet, and it impacts multiple parts of his game. Doesn't really have particularly strong hands. Had multiple moments this year where he'd have the ball ripped away from him, either after he brought it down or before he fully controlled it. Big guys with tools and questionable hands have a higher bust rate than most, going from late arrivals to basketball like Sayer, Sene, and Alexis Ajinça to even 5-star players like James Wiseman. Maluach at this stage lacks the general coordination that he will need to continue to work on it throughout his first years in the NBA. Maluach, the hands impact, what is my biggest worry for him. Maluach does not control the defensive glass all that well right now. Average just 3.4 defensive rebounds per game. I wrote this, however long ago. Probably, honestly, I might have written this like 3 weeks ago. Opposing teams grabbed offensive rebounds 4% more often when Malawach was on the court versus when he was off the court. Gets pushed around on the interior because of that high center of gravity. Guys can push him underneath the rim and get him out of rebounding position. Also just doesn't seem to rebound, doesn't seem to read the ball off of the rim well. I mean, like I wrote that God knows how many, seriously, like maybe 3 weeks ago. Maybe it could have even been a little bit longer than that. These are things that have been coming up all year. If I'm seeing this, you damn well better believe that Kellen Sampson and the rest of the assistants on the Houston staff saw it, and they just like absolutely obliterated it and torched it.
You know, another thing I wonder, Sam, his minutes, as I like look through his game log, his minutes never played a whole lot. I wonder if he got gassed early in that game and had trouble recovering because, there was no whistles. We had the back-to-back timeouts. Like we went to timeout, shot a free throw, went to timeout again because there wasn't a whistle for the first 18 minutes. That's kind of why we had the line changes. I just wonder if playing the first 8 minutes, like even Cooper looked tired, for a couple of those final minutes. I wonder if Common having to play 8 straight minutes to start the game just completely gassed him. And maybe he was never able to fully get back in, like his legs into it, and all of that.
Well, I don't even know if it was that necessarily. And this is where I'll give Houston a ton of credit. It's fucking gassing playing Houston.
Oh, sure.
Like they're a tough team to deal with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just are really hard. They're really tough. They're physical. They're strong. Let's at least spend a minute on some of their prospects, right? Like I've been a little bit higher, I think, on JoJo Tugler than most this year. Tugler was a plus 15 in this game. Like he was fantastic. So many extra possessions. He had 5 offensive rebounds. He had 4 blocks, a couple of which were just like massive. He had that huge putback dunk at the end. Look, he has no offensive role in the NBA. He has like no offensive role. I don't know what it is. I don't know what to do with him. I had an NBA scout friend tell me that their comp for him was, what if Kenneth Faried actually defended? And I was like, okay, I don't think he's that level rebounder yet, but like I can see that world, right? Do you think that player's valuable in today's NBA? So it's kind of my question.
My immediate reaction to that comment was, even so, does Kenneth Faried make it on the court in today's NBA? Like, I don't know. I mean, the scary thing with Tugler is it truly is like, what is he going to do offensively? Where do you put him? What do you do with him? I mean, to be clear, I have him like mid-second round right now still, just because the defense is so good. And at some point, the value of just taking him and seeing if you can develop makes it worth it. But the offense is really scary.
Yeah, like the positive comparison here, like if you're trying to make like a positive point of comparison, is can he be Jared Vanderbilt?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're hoping for is, maybe like more of a center Vanderbilt as opposed to like a perimeter Vanderbilt. But I don't know. I love him. I think probably should go back and like try and figure out what he is off on offense, especially since I'm sure he'll be like $1 million player at Houston next year. But I'm like genuinely very interested in him as a player for sure.
Yep.
Miles Uzon did not play well in that game. He was really like the guy that just, it felt like struggled for Houston yesterday. Only 7 points on 10 shots, turned it over a couple of times, got beat a couple of times by Concanipple early in the game as well, defensively. Just, wasn't his best.
No, it wasn't. Still interesting player though. And I like the creativity with his floater. And I think he even showed that a little bit in this game. That was probably the only thing he showed. I think he had at least one in the second half, but not his best performance. The nice thing for him is we get him on an even bigger stage on Monday night.
I have no idea what to do with J1 Roberts. I love the idea of what he is and what he's about. And part of me is just like, I feel like he'd be good to have in your organization in some respect. I just don't know if I see like any NBA skill set, unfortunately. Like he's not an amazing finisher around the basket. Great defender, really good rebounder. I just don't totally know if there's an NBA fit there. And then LJ Cryer is just small, right? Like it's, he can average 16 a game. It's just hard to, make that guy fit on an NBA court when he's 6 foot tall.
Yeah, those guys are tough, because it's like what is the overriding characteristics that make smaller guards work in the NBA? Which ones do? And that's, I don't know that I have a great answer for it, and it's
I think the first one, for what it's worth, is like strength and physicality.
So that's where I've gotten to as well, in terms of the ones I kind of like. And that's why I know you were big on this guy. I think this guy's had a good quality season as a backup guard, Jamal Shed. Like, Jamal Shed is just jacked. And because of that, again, because the NBA is a physical league, Jamal Shed is able to hold his line on drives to the rim and get there. He's able to hold his line defensively and not get completely cooked whenever you get a bad matchup or whatever. Obviously, there's some that it's just the height is going to be an issue, but Cryer doesn't stick out the same way physically. I always use Marcus Sasser as an example for me, where it's just like the first time he stepped on the court for the Pistons, I was like, oh my gosh, he's so small. And you've seen actually Detroit almost go away from him, and it's a new front office, but like they took him in the first round and they've kind of acquired talent over him, even though he can still provide stuff. It's almost like an 11th man. Like they almost fall into being fifth guards. You know what I mean, Sam? Like, okay, somebody's out tonight. We need you to come get some buckets because so-and-so is missing the game.
And I'm sure you feel the same way I do, that like Sasser is a real level ahead of Cryer.
Oh, yeah.
Like, as an overall player.
Agreed. Yeah, that's my point, though, is like Sasser's the 11th man on a playoff team this year and only gets minutes when somebody's hurt. And even then, really all he does, and not all, but like it is valuable, but he comes in and just gets some buckets and provides value that way. It's like it's a very negative defensive impact. And he can't really create. Like, that's the biggest thing with these guys as well, is like, can you create for your teammates? Can you break down the defense in a way that gets your teammates shots also?
Yeah. Okay, let's go to Florida and Auburn real quick. I mean, this is the Walter Clayton show, and we're just going to spend some time talking about Clayton here. Walter Clayton is about as fun of a basketball player to watch as you will find. As you know, I've been higher on Clayton throughout the year. Like, I really like Walter Clayton. He had 34 yesterday. He had 30 against Texas Tech. Do you know the last time that somebody had 30 in back-to-back Elite Eight in Final Four games?
I do not.
Try Larry Bird, baby. Indiana State, stand up.
Love it.
That's where we're talking about with Clayton, though, these last two performances. He's been unbelievable. Again, 34 last night against Auburn. Shot 61% from the field, 62% from three. He's just an unbelievable shot maker. I have had Walter Clayton as a top 45 guy since like December, right? I've been way higher than like everybody on him. Like I've just said, this is a guy I want in my organization. Part of it is like, I've talked to like people around it, and like the Florida staff loves him, and like people around it have always loved him. And he's super tough. Like, was a, this is, the Jalen Suggs bit, right? And the Brad Davison bit. But, high school quarterback, was really freaking good. Honestly, was like a better football player in terms of like his recruiting prospects than a basketball player. And he's decided, no, I want to go to Iona and play basketball because I love basketball. I think a way more underrated athlete than what he gets credit for being.
Yeah, there's some highlight stuff out there that shows it.
Has some real pop. Like, he's going to put up like a 39, 40-inch vertical leap, and I think people are going to be somewhat stunned by it just because he doesn't always show that. But like in the open court, like he can get up, man. Like he can rise and like throw down. The other stuff that he does athletically that I think is most underrated, I think he's actually just like really flexible in the lane. And like has this weird ability, even though he doesn't have these like amazing gathers, because he's so flexible, like athletically, he has this ability to kind of get to his spots and be able to like throw up these weird, like awkward floaters where he's like somewhat off balance, but he's not actually like off of his own center of gravity. You know what I mean? Like, it looks like he's off balance, but he's not off balance, and he's still able to get to his spot and finish. That's the stuff that's like really important, I think, as he starts to move up levels, is having that ability. And he obviously has unbelievable touch. Like, that's the main skill here, right? He is an incredible shooter, has long been an incredible shooter. 95% from the line as a sophomore, 88 last year, 87 this year. Long been just like a monster 3-point shooter. I've seen some names, some points of comparison. I'll ask you, where are you on Walter Clayton before I kind of say where I'm at?
Yeah, like I've had him in my top 45 as well, in that second round range, kind of bouncing around. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a guy that ends up at the end of the first round once a lot of names don't stay in, because like this is going to happen. Like, it's part of a bigger conversation in a different episode, but I mean, I've had names flying off my top 100 over the last couple days as guys have made decisions, and there's a chance for, even more. Yaxel Lindenborg is the main one, and I realize he's going to test, but I assume he's going to make some good money at Michigan and will only stay in the draft if he hears what he wants to hear. So I could see Clayton being a guy that ends up in the end of the first round, and I think so I'm between Marcus Sasser archetype of what I just described, and like, I won't steal a name, but like an actual third guard, like comes in and can actually, I think he fits great off like a primary initiator where you can just leverage his shooting in that way, and he doesn't have to do a whole lot of the creation and all of that. And I'm avoiding saying the name that I know you're going to say. The one thing I will say, my best friend was at the Final Four, said Walter Clayton walked right in front of him, and he was like, man, he is really, really short, like shorter than what he thought. And so like that does make me a little nervous, but man, he can really shoot it. He is really athletic. I don't know how much I believe in like the creation up for others. The defense will be an issue, but he is strong, so maybe he can hold up a little bit. I think he probably taps out as a third guard, maybe fourth. But I think that's where I'm at with him right now.
So I forgot that he was at the Combine last year. He went to the G League Combine.
Oh, okay.
Year.
What do you how was his numbers?
So we have measurements. He was 6'2.5" barefoot.
Interesting. That's actually taller than I would have guessed.
Honestly, a little bit bigger than I thought he would be too. Yeah. But short arms, like 6'4.5", or no, 6'4", 2'5" wingspan.
Okay.
8'1" standing reach. So that's where like the shortness comes in. Yep. 6'2.5", but like if you only have an 8'1" standing reach, like that's not a 2 guard. Like you're really gonna have to play some point, right? 37.5 max vert. So I was close when I said like 39-40. That makes me feel decent about what I thought. Maybe I had that in my head somewhere in the back of my mind that I knew he did that. The two things that worry me about Clayton, I thought last year he was not very good defensively. I think this year he's been way better. I think this year he's been like physical and like willing to fight on that end. He gets the easiest matchup on the perimeter for them every time, right? And that's, a credit to the way that Florida has built their roster. They've done an amazing job of allowing him to avoid these matchups. The big thing that worries me more than anything, just point blank, I don't love the way that he reads the floor as passer.
Yeah.
I don't think he maps the court particularly well in those circumstances. And you see him make a lot of like really, really questionable reads to me. I know he averaged 4 assists per game this year, but I feel like a lot of his turnovers, of which I think he was like 2.5 or so, come where he like just really kind of misreads or preordains his read and makes a decision before he really should. And that's what like worries me about him playing point guard in the NBA. The name that I think he reminds me of, and I will have him as like a later first round pick now, at the very least. The name that it reminds me of is Peyton Pritchard.
Yep.
I think personally that Peyton was like a little bit more dynamic at Oregon with the ball in his hands. I think that Walter is a better athlete and frankly is probably a better shooter than what Peyton was. I think that like the ability to like dynamically get into his shots from different footworks, from different like shooting pockets, like there are a lot of different things that he does that I think really give him that shot, right? That
I mean, some of the shots he makes off movement are ridiculous. Like you were talking the balance and body control and the finishes in the rim. He shoots some threes where I'm like, no way. And then he makes it. It's like, okay, that's sick level stuff right there with off the bounce and off the catch, like movement off the catch, like really impressive stuff.
Yeah. So, and here's the big difference for me though. I did think Peyton was pretty far ahead as a passer compared to Walt coming in. So that's why to me, like, even though I say like it's very reminiscent to me of Peyton Pritchard, who by the way was also a first team All-American, was amazing his last year at Oregon.
Yeah, really good.
Like you would think that if that's my point of comparison, I would have him at like, 15, 14, 18, something like that. But I do think that like the passing ability that Peyton displayed and the ability to read and map the court was a little bit better. So I'm going to have Walt right now as like a later first round pick. We'll see if guys pull out. I would guess that I will have Walt in the, I did Yegor's draft guide profile yesterday. Watching that tape back was not all that exciting to me. I have him like pretty deep in the 20s right now. Like him versus Jaeger is like an interesting point of comparison for me because they're just like literally polar opposite players. I'm excited to go back and watch like him, watch Walt, like do the full draft guide, like deep dive, and maybe compare him to like Jace in my head, right? And try to figure out like is Jace, because I ended up less impressed with Jace than where I expected to be as well in this class. So like I have Jace right now at, something like in the 20s, so somewhere in that ballpark. So something in the 20s feels right to me for Clayton right now.
That's the tier I have him in as well. And again, there's a few names in that tier that I could see not staying. And just like you, as I've gone through my kind of deeper dive with these guys now as the season's kind of winding down, I find myself getting higher on some guys. I've only kind of got through my lottery, so I haven't moved guys a ton, but there's definitely guys that I was like, oh, I think this guy might be in the running for the top 5. That I'm like, no, actually he's a little more around 10. So Clayton now is very strongly one of those guys I'm excited to do that with. And like you, maybe he ends up in the late teens. It's especially you get the right team where it makes sense in terms of the rest of the roster and the backcourt they have, where maybe that's what they're missing, right? Like having a dynamic shooter at the guard position works out okay. Like, I don't know where's Orlando's pick right now. Like Orlando could use this
2. Yeah. So like 15 and like 23, 24, something like that.
Yeah, 24. So like 16 seems a little bit high for them, but like if you told me Orlando took him at 24 because they like that wouldn't surprise me at all. So like I think there's some teams out there that he could make a lot of sense for.
The team that would be amazing here, and it just can't happen because Orlando acquired their pick. I mean, can you imagine him in Denver?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like that would be the most fun to me. Like put him with Jokic, let him like relocate off of Jokic constantly. Someone said, I just brought up Jace. Like, I don't see how you would think Jace would be way better than Walt at 22. Because Walter is 22 already. Jace is 19. I think that Walter is like more dynamic right now in terms of being able to go like both right and left. The fact that Jace can really only go left is a real worry for me right now in regard to the NBA, especially early in their careers. The more I watched Jace, the more I thought like he might be helped by going back, in all honesty. And I say that as somebody that was very high on him early and then like really went and like watched game after game after game and saw the tendencies and was like, this is a little bit of a worry for me.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else? Do you want to talk about Condon and Hauk real quick?
Condon struggled. I thought Condon was very good defensively for the most part. He got like bigger, stronger.
I disagree with that for what it's worth.
Really?
I thought he was really good late. I thought he was pretty bad early.
So I thought he struggled with the physicality of Broom, right? Like I just he can't lower his center of gravity and hold up at the point good enough to guard Janai Broom one-on-one when Broom's just going to bully him. I thought you saw kind of like the effort plays and the recoveries and stuff like that as the game went on. He really struggled on the offensive end. I thought Hauk was solid again. The box, 12-7, had a big time block that got called for a foul. So I thought they were fine. Like I thought it was okay.
Yeah. I did not think Condon was very good. He fouled out of this game, had 4 rebounds. I thought he got pushed around on the interior. I think he should go back. Like I've been on that for a little while at this point. I don't quite see it as much with him as I see it with Hauk. I think Hauk is like genuinely, I don't know if he's a draft prospect for this year. Like, again, I think he's somebody that can go back and like really improve his handle and really improve his shooting. Like, I think that jumper gets like a little bit weirdly inconsistent.
Yeah. When
you watch him. The guy that I think I'm just like way higher on than anybody, I love Elijah Martin. Like that dude is amazing on defense. He is a guy that turns defense to offense. He is a crazy athlete. He's super strong. He shoots it like he's a career like 36% 3-point shooter on like 900 attempts or something. What am I missing with Elijah Martin just beyond he's 6'1"?
Yeah, I mean, I think that matters, but like we just talked about, if you're going to be shorter, then are you physical and all of that? I think people are starting to come around. Here's my thing is like, there's so many guys that sometimes it takes a little while to get to the Elijah Martin, and especially as, you're watching Florida, your eyes are always on Walter Clayton or Alex Condon or Hauk, or, in this game, you're also watching Janai Broom and Tahad Pettiford. And so I think people I feel like my Twitter feed was filled up a little bit with, why is this guy? I actually had somebody text me about him the other day. Like, why is he not a prospect? And so I think he's a guy that could all of a sudden, especially as we talked about, people don't stay in and he's going to stay in. I think he's a name that could be interesting and, end up like on a 2-way and make some noise. And because you're right, he's a quality defender. He can shoot it. He's athletic. He's strong. So I think he has a real chance.
Okay. That's all I've got here. Do you have a pick here before we get out? Who wins Houston and Florida?
No. Houston, sure, whatever.
I think it's a really tough game to predict, actually. I think it's like a genuinely difficult game to predict because so much of it is down to how the Florida bigs deal with that physicality. But Florida is theoretically like one of the teams that is built to deal with that.
Are they going to be able to score against those guys, though? Like, I don't. Florida bigs thrive on like outworking, out hustling, like other bigs, outrunning the floor. Like they're not. Are they going to do that to Tugler and I don't know that they're going to do that to Houston. Like my thing, and then my thing is if Florida wins, like maybe Richard, maybe Martin go off. Like, is Clayton going to get clean looks? Or is he going to be able to? I don't know. So
yeah, I think that my vibe is Houston in a very close game, but I don't know. My answer is I don't know. I think it's Houston in a very close game for me, though. Yeah. I don't have a strong lean on that either way. Like I felt pretty strongly about Florida, and I felt honestly like fairly good about Duke as well. I don't have nearly as strong of a lean on this one.
Here's what's amazing. So Ken Palm, and we talked about this already. Houston 10th in offense, 1st in defense. Florida 2nd in offense, 9th in defense. So like, I mean, you can make the argument both ways. Like, how's Florida going to score? Well, how's Houston going to score on a Florida defense that is pretty darn good itself? So I hope we get a really good game because to your point, it seems like like those final 4 games, you always get one that's not great. that was a great night of basketball on Saturday night. And with this obviously being the only, I hope it's a good game. At the end of the day, I only stay up to watch one shining moment because it puts me in my feels every year. It's like one of my all-time favorite things to watch ever since I was a kid, and then playing in the tournament and all of that. So my wife knows just to leave me alone and let me get emotional during that because it's awesome.
Oh my God. Okay. Speaking of the game, tomorrow you're going to be able to go to PrizePicks, and you're going to be able to place real money sports action on the game if you so choose. And we absolutely recommend that here at the Game Theory Podcast. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. On PrizePicks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports. You can combine your favorite basketball players with players from baseball, hockey, whatever you want to do. But we're going to stick to the title game here. I've got Walter Clayton over 19.5. That feels pretty good, given these coming off back-to-back 30s. Even though Houston is tough as hell, I think the place where you can get off a little bit is some of the guards. And then I've just got them crushing the glass. I've got Houston, Jaywan Roberts over 6.5 rebounds. And I've got JoJo Tugler over 4.5 rebounds. That's going to pay 3.75x on your money. That feels like a good one to me. That feels like one where we can hit and we can be happy. We love PrizePicks here because of how easy they make it to get real money sports action. The playoffs are coming up. You shouldn't miss your chance to cash in on the league's best as they fight for playoff position and as we get into the playoffs. If you think LeBron's going to go for 24 points or more this week, if you think Giannis is going to go for 35, if you think Steph is going to just keep going off in the way that he has, you just got to get you and your friends to run your game over on PrizePicks. Download the app today and use the code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use the code Game Theory. Help us out. Type in that code Game Theory. It really helps to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay. Let's next get into best contracts. Let's do just like how we went about this. So I got like a big list I went through every team and I got like a big list of like 20 to 25 or so names, right? And then after that, I kind of whittled it down. And then I sent you like a somewhat longer list of best contracts, as well as like a bit of a longer list of worst contracts. And we kind of talked back and forth a little bit, but I had an order. And I felt like my order was like pretty sound, right? Yeah. So like when you were looking for these, because you did your own thing as well, what were you looking for?
Yeah, so I just went through literally, I went to Spot Track and I went through every team and just looked for ones that stood out. And I mean, obviously it's just like what value, what elite level players were on non-max contracts, right? Giveaway there to some guys at the top. What real like third or fourth, like what starter level, like truly impact players were on just, $10 million a year, $11 million a year. And really, I think what we also ended up was multi-years, right? Like not guys that were getting to the final year of it where they're about to get a number. Like there's one of the guys that's going to be part of the conversation whenever we have it. It's just he's still on such a good contract right now. So that's really what I looked at is like, are you less than, or you have a guy on less than star money that is a star for you, and then that next level of player, that third option, maybe the fourth option, and they're like below the MLE or something like that, and especially if you have them for an extended period of time.
So the rules here, we've done this before. The rules here are no max contracts. Because look, the best contract in the NBA right now is either Nikola Jokic or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? That's the reality. Like those are the two guys for MVP. You would do whatever you can to have those guys on your books. Remove those guys. Totally. Second, how valuable are you to what the team does? Extremely. In this case, they're going to be high end. The third team, or the third piece of it, no rookie scale contracts. Wemby, otherwise, would be very clearly the best, right?
Yep.
No rookie scale deals. That also eliminated Tamani Kamara because Tamani signed a deal immediately off of being a second round pick for a 4-year deal. That means like even a second round pick who is on a long-term deal is not eligible here. If it's your first guaranteed deal, basically, you are not eligible. Third, length of contract matters here. So Jaren Jackson, we'll talk about this up front. Yep. Jaren Jackson, despite the fact that he has 1 year, $23 million left on his deal, and he's going to be an all-NBA player for both of us this year, presumably, is not on this list because he has 1 year left. And frankly, given Memphis's machinations here over the course of the deadline, they've set themselves up to potentially up his contract in the offseason. Or if he makes all NBA, they're just going to be able to extend off of it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mikal Bridges also not on this list because he has 1 year left.
Yeah.
Austin Reeves not on this list, despite the fact that he has one of the best value deals in the NBA because he has 1 year and I think like 13 and a half left. And there is no fucking way that guy's picking up that player option. Like, he has been so good over the course of the last half of the season.
Even
Draymond Green was another guy I looked at too. Like, he has 1 year left realistically. It's 252 left at the last year's a player option. So if it goes, like, and it goes great and you get the excess value, he's probably opting out of that player option, right?
Yeah, and I was just going to quickly say, also even lower level name guys like Ty Jerome, who we've given a ton of love, like he's an unrestricted free agent now. And Malik Beasley is on a 1 year contract. So even guys like that who I could see people wanting to end up on these lists, they're not because those guys are about to go get paid, at least get a pay up, upgrade this offseason. If Beasley was on a 3-year, $18 million contract and this was year one of it, he's on the list. Or if Jerome had another year at $2 million, maybe, but those guys are the end of their contract. So even those level of players aren't going to be listed because of that reason, even though they're obviously been great values this season.
The other thing that I considered as to whether or not we should consider it is whether or not we should start doing the like max deals that were signed under the old CBA kind of thing, where like, because Darius Garland signed his max deal at 25%, like back in the old days, he's only at like $38 million or something right now, which is crazy. We ended up deciding not to include those guys. Garland next year is going to make $39 million and like, again, might be an all NBA player this year.
Well, even
like compare him to like,
that's even SGA. Yeah. SGA's legit the same number. He is extension eligible this offseason, but SGA is in the same boat.
So we decided not to consider those players as well. Even though with the rising salary cap, it does make those players even more intensely valuable than they were previously. Okay. Some of the honorable mentions we've mentioned, like I still have Reeves as an honorable mention because like even still at like 14 mil for next year, he might give you $20 million of surplus value on that deal. Say like Jaren Jackson, same deal, like probably going to give you $20 million of surplus value for that 1 year. Let's go with here. I'll give the two guys that like I really considered near the end. Lou Dort at 234 was one in like a team option on the final year, was one that I really strongly considered. Because he's going to make first team all defense this year. He's averaging 10 points, shooting 40% from three. I ultimately went with guys that, we'll talk about the bottom end of the list, I guess, when we get there, but I think there is a better defender at the bottom end of the list who makes slightly less money. And I think Lou Dort is like very close to this. He was right on the edge to me, and I very strongly considered him.
Yeah, I'm a huge Dort guy. Obviously, he was on my list of names whenever, I listed it out. I think he's on a really quality contract. If people wanted to argue that he should be on there, whatever, I think he's one of those names that can definitely be in the conversation, especially with a few of the bottom names.
Yep. Moses Moody and Aaron Naismith as like the 3-year 37 for Moses. Naismith 2 years, I think 22 million left. Just like solid 3-and-D level starting basketball players. Ultimately, we went with a couple different guys here, but real chance to potentially hit the list next year for Moody, depending on how his season goes next year. That looks like a really strong contract. Naismith, we'll only have 1 year left next year, but Naismith just continues to be incredibly valuable. And oh, by the way, if we're talking about Aaron Naismith, we should also talk about one of his other, partners in crime. Naismith this year averaging 12 points, 4 rebounds, shooting 51, 43, 91, which is crazy to me. He is going to put up a 50, 40, 90 season at 222. We might have screwed up not having him on this list. Andrew Nembhard was another one I considered. Nembhard has 359 left. Obviously is like the Pacers' best perimeter defender. Mm-hmm. 10 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. The shooting has fallen off just like a little bit this year. Just like a small amount. And that worries me a touch because in college he was never the best shooter. And then the past 2 years he's been at like 35% from 3. I wonder if he has to expend so much energy defensively that it might be hindering him a little bit on offense, but was definitely in the top 15 for me.
Yeah. I think one name I want to mention is Kobe White as well, because again, as we've kind of mentioned with these other guys though, he's now extension eligible, 1 year left, unrestricted free agent. He's been incredible. The post All-Star break numbers, even more so, have been silly with just the points per game and all of that. But looking in general, I think just as I look at our list, I don't think anybody is in our top 10 that doesn't have at least 2 years after this year. And that's only one player. So almost everybody has 3 or 4 years, I think, after this season, even if there's a player option on the end of it. So, just not quite enough years left, but definitely wanted to give Kobe a shout out also.
The final guy I want to bring up here is Chris, actually 2. So Deuce McBride, 2 years, 8 million. Yep. Deuce has been just, really, really solid off the bench this year for the Knicks, and $4 million a year is just crazy. Chris Dunn has 2 years, 10 million left. And if he was eligible, I would have him on an all defense team. He's been unbelievable this year. I think he's been the best perimeter defender in the NBA. The last year on that deal is non-guaranteed as well, which is crazy. So really we're working off of now 2 straight years of Dunn being a pretty good starter, given what he was in Utah as well. I'm just a Chris Dunn guy. What can I say? I've been a Chris Dunn guy since he was a draft prospect. I continue to be a Chris Dunn guy. There were some years in the wilderness, but we're back, baby.
Yeah, no, it's a great contract. Like you said, then it 0 guaranteed on the end of it. We talked about this where it seemed like LA, after they, lost Paul George, they did some decent work on the margins, kind of shoring up and making themselves at least better defensively. And then, we don't have to get into a Clipper segment, but Harden's kind of taken over the offense, and Norm Powell's had a breakout year. And obviously we'll talk about Zubats later.
Yeah, we will. Okay, so we're going to get into the list here. But first, we got to shout out our good friends, a new sponsor here, SKIMS. Shout out to SKIMS. I don't know if you've found out, but SKIMS is making underwear now for men. And I don't know what your usual complaints are about underwear, from comfort or fit, or you just hate shopping for it or whatever it is. Skims is an absolutely elite brand of underwear. We love it here. I feel like I have tried just every different kind, and there's stuff that works, there's stuff that doesn't. There's like a stretch material, there's cotton boxers, there's different kinds, right? Skims is just an absolutely tremendous option for you. The cotton 5-inch boxer brief is just so terrific with Skims. I can't emphasize enough how just awesome it feels. Like, you feel like you don't really have underwear there. You forget it, you put it on, and you forget it's there. It's just the best. You can shop Skims Men's at skims.com and at Skims stores. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcasts in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Skims is the official underwear partner of the NBA, WNBA, and USA Basketball. Shop Skims Men's at www.skims, S-K-I-M-S. Good Lord. Let's try that again. SKIMS.com/Game Theory, and also, in addition to, make sure you select podcast in the survey and let them know that we sent you in that drop down menu after. We love Skims here. It is such a great brand. It is such a good underwear. I really can't recommend Skims enough. Please go support us and go buy Skims. Also, shout out to our good friends over at NUTRAFOL. NUTRAFOL, as you guys know, it can be concerning to experience any sort of hair thinning. But this year, there's nothing holding you back from loving your hair again. Hair is so much more than what you see on the surface. It is a reflection of what's happening inside. Let NUTRAFOL target the key root causes of your thinning hair and help you grow stronger, healthier strands from within. NUTRAFOL is #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement. It's trusted by over 1.5 million people. You can see thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with NUTRAFOL. Thinning hair is different for everybody. A one-size-fits-all approach to hair growth is just not going to cut it. They have multiple formulas for men, for women. It's tailored to different life stages, to different lifestyle factors. Whatever you need, NUTRAFOL has got it. It is physician formulated with 100% drug-free ingredients. NUTRAFOL supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting key root causes, from stress to hormones to aging, nutrition to lifestyle, whatever's going on. They use a whole body health method to help prevent hair thinning. Start your hair growth journey today with NUTRAFOL. For a limited time, NUTRAFOL is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to NUTRAFOL.com and enter the promo code Game Theory. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend NUTRAFOL for healthier hair. NUTRAFOL.com, spelled NUTRAFOL.com. Promo code Game Theory. That's NUTRAFOL.com. Promo code Game Theory. Also, finally, we got to shout out the folks over at Timeline and MITOPURE. I'm feeling stronger from my workouts, and most importantly, I'm feeling like I have more energy and can recover quicker from my workouts thanks to MITOPURE. MITOPURE is a precise dose of the rare postbiotic urolithin A. It works by promoting an essential cellular cleanup process that clears out dysfunctional mitochondria. And if you don't know, mitochondria are your cell's battery packs. MITOPURE is the only urolithin A supplement on the market clinically proven to target the effects of age-related cellular decline. Awaken the strength, power, and resilience already within you with the first and only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level with MITOPURE. Timeline is offering 10% off of your first order with MITOPURE today. Go to timeline.com/game theory. That's Timeline, TIMELINE.com, game theory, and you're going to get 10% off of MITOPURE. Okay, let's go. First name here at number 10. As I look for the banners. Where did the banners go, Bryce? Okay. First name here at number 10 on the best contracts list. We have Derek White. 3 years, $91 million. Derek White is averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting 44, 38, 84. He's been all defense each of the last 2 seasons. I think he's right on the edge of making all defense again this year, don't you, Bryce?
Yeah, I think so. I think, if you get a name from Boston, he's like, it's him or Drew, right? So yeah, I would say.
Yeah, and Drew is going to be very close.
I was going to say, does he have
on the games played? I think he might be like 1 or 2 short, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah. No, he is. Yeah, he's only at 59. And, that's another thing with Derek White. He has, 73 games played this year. He played 73 last year, played 70 the year before, 75 the year before that. Like, been very, very consistent throughout almost all of his career, to be honest, in terms of being available, playing minutes. And that's just kind of the story of Derek White, right? Is like, it's the consistency of what do you need from him? When do you need it? And he delivers in that way.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Like, he's just this amazing chess piece for the Boston Celtics. I feel like if they need him to take on slightly more ball handling duties in a certain day because Jaylen Brown isn't playing or Jason isn't playing, he can do that. If they need him to step back and be more of like the spacer and be like the transition player, they can do that. If you need somebody that can do any number of different things, he's just going to problem solve for you while also playing elite level defense. He was a little bit higher on our list last year. I think he's been just like slightly worse on offense this year than what he was the year before. He is now 30 years old. I think that there is a chance we could be seeing some like very, very slight age-based decline just in terms of the efficiency. But he is still just a guy that ultimately, the high expense guys that I looked at here, Tyler Hero, Jalen Johnson was another one like I kind of briefly looked at as well.
Jalen, yeah.
Jalen, the only reason that I didn't do Jalen Johnson is because even though Jalen is averaging like 19, 10, and 5 this year, right? He's only played 1 season of 70 games. And I just would like to see him play a full season at some point, like beyond that 1 single season. And he did that when he was averaging like 6 points a game, right? And played 15 minutes a night. The last 2 years, he's combined for 92 games. Like, Derek White is going to consistently be on the court. And frankly, with White versus Hero, I would just rather have Derek White at the end of the day. Like, if I have to win a basketball game tomorrow, I'm just taking Derek White over Tyler Hero because he does it on both ends.
Yeah. And I think White probably doesn't end up on this list anymore after this. But, like, you look at the numbers and it's like, man, that gets pretty expensive for him in 28, 29. He's like at almost 35. But it's actually only 17% of the cap. His percent of the cap actually goes down, even though the numbers go slightly up. So I think it's going to be okay in regards to that.
Yeah, no, I think that this deal is going to make sense. Like, people have been trying to figure out, okay, what do the Celtics do moving forward? Do they have to get rid of a Drew Holiday? Do they have to get rid of a Kristaps Porzingis? Because as we know, the repeater tax is going to get aggressive for the Celtics.
Yeah.
To me, I think that White is the one that you keep, and you probably, if you have to move a player, it's one of Drew or it's Kristaps. It's not Derek White.
Okay, so interesting. Or do you move Derek because you get the most return? Because, like, he is a little bit younger. The contract's a little bit looked at maybe more favorable because Drew is actually going to be, even though Derek has 1 more year, Drew's already like 4 years older. and his percentage of the cap is a little bit more every single season. Like, do you go, actually we'll move? I understand what you're saying. I just wonder if Derek gets you more of a return where it ends up having to be him just because the return nets you some like legit young player. It's not just cap relief. Maybe it gets you real value.
Yeah. Look, I would say that I think Drew offensively, particularly this year, really started to show some age-based worries. I would probably prefer to try and get off of that money if I was them.
No, I love Drew Holiday. So
do I. Yeah.
I'm a touch nervous, Sam, what it's going to look like in the playoffs. And I'm not sitting here thinking it's going to go bad. I'm not necessarily worried about it. Like, I wonder. I've seen there's been enough this year that it makes me wonder if it is an issue at all in the playoffs, which means he'll probably be awesome.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Okay. Number 9. Herb Jones. 2 years.
Say that again. Make sure I say it right.
Herb Jones.
Got it.
2 years, $29 million this year. Herb obviously got hurt this year, so, we didn't quite get a chance to see him at his best. He only played 20 games. In those 20 games, he averaged 10 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Last year is really what we're going off of here, and both of the years before that. But 11 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.4 steals, 0.8 blocks, shot 50, 42, 87, unlimited usage for sure. Like, this is absolutely a guy that does not do his best work on offense. But for me, when Herb Jones is at his best, he has a very real case as being the best perimeter defender in the NBA. This was the guy that I was talking about when I talked about him versus I was talking about Lou Dort. I think Herb's height and size and length gives him a bit of a leg up on Lou in off-ball things that he does in terms of creating havoc and making plays off the ball. And I think they are damn close on the ball in terms of being able to make an impact. He was first team all defense last year, and he was 5th in the defensive player of the year award.
Yeah, that's big time value. And this is honestly like where Lou Dort got as well. Whenever you start making shots from the 3-point line the way Herb Jones does, and even all around, right? 50% from the field. I understand it's low volume. In the 20 games this year, like, he didn't shoot it well, but it's a 20-game sample. So, like you said, we're still kind of going off last year. It was 3.5 attempts per game last year for 76 games, Sam. So that's not an awful sample size. Yeah. I would like to see it for another year, right? Like, I want to see it for a full year. Before this year in the injury, he had played 76, 66, 78 games in his career. So no reason to believe he doesn't come back next year and play a ton of games. And I just know for me, I'm excited about that Pelicans wing combination of him and Trey Murphy. If their eyes aren't already on, okay, how do we build around these two guys? Obviously, Herb more so on the defensive end. They absolutely should be, because that's a really fun wing room. I know we'll talk more about Trey as well later. But, yeah, Herb Jones, a little bit forgotten about because of the injury this season, but big-time defender that showed real growth offensively.
Yeah, so Danny Mack asks, was the shooting regression any concern for y'all this year? I owned him in fantasy, and production was very lackluster. So I would say that the regression to like 30% doesn't worry me. I think I will be surprised if he shoots 42% from 3 again.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But somewhere between 33 and 38% feels like where he's going to fall into. And that's really just enough to me. Like, if he's in the 33 to 38% range, I'm totally good with that from Herb Jones. And I'm very comfortable with him being able to take the open ones when they come available.
Yeah, I mean, my thing for him is volume. Can he continue to increase the volume? And really, it's like, can he make corner threes, right? Like, with Herb Jones, can he be a quality corner baseline player? And that's what he did tremendously last year. He shot 48% on corner threes last season, and it was they're over 50% of his 3-point shot diet for his entire career. This year in that sample size, it was 37% on corner threes. So I think it's more so, I'm with you. I don't think he's going to be like a career 40% 3-point shooter, but can he get 36, 38? And can we get those attempts over 4? Can we push those to 4.5 and really be over 40% for sure on corner 3-point attempts, or those whenever they're just leaving wide, the uncontested catch and shoot that Synergy would track. I think that's what's really important. Does he have enough gravity that you can't just stand and leave him wide open in the corner, in transition, on the weak side when a pick and roll is happening?
Yeah, and it's just worth reminding people like what makes him so special on defense. He is a monster on the ball. He is elite at getting through screens. He is elite at using like trailing and using his length to be able to get back into plays if he gets caught behind. He is so aggressive and physical at the point of attack. At 6'7" with a 7'1" wingspan, he has the ability to guard real like perimeter players like Darius Garland, as well as go up the lineup and guard even like up to the 4 and occasionally the 5. Like they have done that with him before. I wouldn't say he does it against like the highest end 5s at a particularly like OG Anunoby is a better defender against the 5s than what Herb is. But OG makes literally 2 times what Herb makes. I actually think it's more than that. I think it's like 3 times almost. And B, Herb is also just like a monster off the ball. Like he's so good at cutting off angles. He's so good at closing out onto shooters, onto like scrambling. He is a monster on that end. Like he is, to me, I thought he was the best perimeter defender in the NBA last season. I didn't even really think it was all that close.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just looking through some of my notes from the 23-24 season on him, and it's defense is so much fun to watch. It's not always flashy. He just is impactful, but then he also like will force a carry, or he'll have a transition hustle play. Like he kind of does all of it, right? Like we talk about these guys who can get the stocks and the chase down blocks and those things, and he can do that. And like the numbers don't blow you away, but he's also just very, very solid with the way he goes about it as well.
Okay. Number 8, Josh Hart. I just am so blown away by the season Josh Hart has had this year. Like that dude is literally just the Knicks' biggest problem solver across the board. If they ever need something done, he is going to be there. Averaging 14 points, nearly 10 rebounds, nearly 6 assists, which is crazy. That is crazy that he's averaging 6 assists. He has been awesome as a passer this year. It is a career high by leaps and bounds. He's shooting 53% from the field, which is also a career high. He's at 34% from 3. I still don't like totally trust him as a shooter. But he's also at 78% from the line. Man, I get it that like it hasn't been sweet recently with Josh Hart, but him at 3 years, 60 million, 62 million with a team option on that last year. This is an amazing contract, given that he also works his balls off defensively. And like, he's not like an amazing toolsy defender, but is willing to like really fight and scratch and claw.
Guys, the points don't really matter, but it's really guys that average 9.5 rebounds and 5.5 assists. You want to guess how many there are in the NBA this year?
No, how many?
4 total players that average 9.5 rebounds and 5.5 assists. Jokic, Giannis, Sabonis, Josh Hart. It's decent
That's
company.
awesome.
Now, obviously, those guys' offensive load is a little bit different than what Hart's is, but I think it just speaks to, like you said, being a problem solver, being a versatile player, and everything he can do in regards to that. And, yeah, I think I'm a sucker for team options. I think that just when a GM and a front office is able to sneak those in, to the end of a contract, I love that. It just the control of that, right? Josh Hart at, what will he be, 31, 32. He's still playing great basketball then. Perfect. We're going to exercise that. He's going to be 12% of the cap. he's not playing well, he falls off, the minutes catch up to him, perfect. We can get out of it with no issues. And I think we've already mentioned Deuce McBride, talking about Josh Hart here. We'll talk about Jalen Brunson at the very end. Spoiler alert. I think those contracts have given them so much flexibility in terms of their team building to have the big number of Karl Anthony Towns, the big number of OG Anunoby, the big number that Mikal Bridges. And, you know, you've mentioned on a recent pod, like kind of trusting Leon Rose and what he's going to do. And I think like this contract, and, you know, I don't know how much credit we can give him on the Brunson deal specifically, but just some really smart moves that have put this team in a good situation cap space wise.
Over his last 34 games, even, he's averaging 6.4 assists. Like it's just genuinely crazy that he is doing what he has done. He just broke the Knicks record for triple doubles in a season, if I remember correctly. He has 9 this year, which is just like, if you would have made me guess if Josh Hart would have 9 triple doubles in a season when he was coming out of Villanova, like I just never would have even come close to that, right? Like he was a fine passer his last year. He was not like some incredible, you know, playmaking passer that 4th year at Villanova. Man, he is just the passing, the playmaking, all of it has just been so good. And look, I get it that the shooting is really frustrating, and it is a real factor for them in the playoffs, which is why, despite the fact that these numbers are here, he's not even higher on this list, frankly. But yeah, I just, yeah.
Okay, how about the triple-double stat then? Nikola Jokic blowing everybody away with 31 this season. LeBron is second with 10, which then I'm sure you can guess. Josh Hart is tied for third with 9, with Cade Cunningham, Domantas Sabonis, Giannis Antetokounmpo. The next closest person has 6, which would be Josh Giddey. So, and I know people will say like minutes, you know, 37 and a half. They play a lot of minutes. He's second in the NBA in minutes, but I mean, there's something to that. If you can play 74 games and almost 38 minutes per game and shoot 53% from the field and grab rebounds every night on both ends of the floor. That's the thing, Sam. It is both ends. He's 2 offensive boards, almost 7.5 defensive rebounds, along with the assists, all of that. Like there's something about being able to do that consistently with the amount of minutes he provides. That's just a ton of value. Sam, he's like top 20 in the NBA defensive rebounders, like of all players, of everybody. That's bigs and otherwise. Just ridiculous stuff.
And I liked him in the playoffs last year too. Like I will say that, like he averaged 15 points, 12 rebounds, 4.5 assists per game, and did shoot 37% from 3 in the playoffs, which was critical. Yeah, I mean, he is fantastic. He is so good.
Yep.
Okay. Next up, number 7, Peyton Pritchard. 3 years, $23.2 million. My guess is that Peyton Pritchard is probably going to be, I would guess he's going to win 6th man of the year. I don't know if I would vote for him or Malik. We have awards coming next week on this show that we'll figure out. Either him or Beasley is my guess on who will win that award. I don't know what the odds currently say, but I'm going to guess that Pritchard, just the Boston thing, probably ends up winning this award. 14 points, 3.8 rebounds, 3.3 assists per game, shooting 47, 41, 84. And he's just incredibly confident and comfortable as a shooter. Like he has unlimited fearlessness as a shooter and playmaker, to where it's just really tough not to buy into him right now, being able to just get hot and win Boston games. And at that number, it's just crazy how valuable he is.
It truly is. And he's not even, like, he's so early in this contract, he's not even extension eligible this summer. Like, he's got to wait till the summer of 2026 to even look at building off that number or whatever, however he's going to manage that. I always use the exceptions as barometers for some of this stuff. He's below the room exception right now. His number in 27-28 is the room exception right now. Can you imagine what that number is going to be in 27-28 when he's at 8.3? It's unreal for a guy who I believe set the NBA record for three-pointers off the bench. But the thing is, Sam, he plays 28 minutes a night. Like, I realize he comes off the bench, but 28 minutes a night is a lot of minutes in the NBA.
Sure.
And so it's not like it's borderline starter minutes per game. I realize it's a little bit below that, but I would assume there's a lot of starters in the NBA that are playing right around 30, 32, and he's playing 28. He's played 75 of their 77 games, so he's always available, and he is so confident. Like, that's the thing that always stands out to me. He comes in, he knows his role, he's confident in it, it fits exactly what they want to do, and he is thriving.
Every time that dude comes in, I just feel like it's going to be a hailstorm of three-pointers.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of the reality, right?
He's must watch TV at the end of quarters,
He
and end
is.
of half. Like, listen, Luke, 3 seconds on the clock. I usually, okay, I'm gonna go fill up my water, early bathroom break. Not when Peyton Pritchard's on the court, because at the very least, he's gonna shoot it. So that's the other thing. I wonder how many heaves he has this year. I wonder if I can find that real fast, because he is not scared to take those shots. And like, that's, even though he does make some of them, that has to bring his percentage down. Okay, so he's only 7, I guess, is according to Basketball Reference. He's 0 of 7, so that does bring his percentage down just a little bit. That can't be right.
Yeah.
That can't
Feels
be right.
like he takes more than that.
Yeah, and has made more than 0. So, no disrespect to Basketball Reference, but I don't like your heaves data collection.
What do you think of him as like a playmaking guard now? Because I mentioned that as something that like I really liked when he was in college when we were talking about Walter Clayton. I don't know that like I trust him to make like super high level reads, but at this number, like, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
If he's like a good 7th man at this number, you're still ahead of the game, given the way things are going. It's really, really interesting to try and figure out what Boston's going to do, but having him at this number and Hauser at the number they have him at, it gives them options now moving forward. But to do that, they are going to have to hit on draft picks, I think. And if I was them, what I'm most interested in for Boston now, and this is now just like kind of a Boston thing instead of a Pritchard thing, and I'm sorry about that. Boston has 28 and 32 right now in the draft. Probably will end up being right around there because they have the Washington 2nd rounder this year in addition to their own 1st rounder. Is there a player that they can move up and get? Their tendency has been to try and slide back and like accumulate draft picks. They've done a great job of that moving forward or in the past. And they have like a real cache of picks now to play with. I am interested to see if there is just a guy, given the way that this draft is shaping up, where the 2nd round might be like actually kind of weak.
Yeah.
Is there just a guy that they love and they're like, we're going to try and use these picks to bump up and go for it?
Yeah, that's interesting, because that's what I say. Like, maybe I would just rather take 2 chances at 28 and 32. But to your point, this thing could end up really weak, really fast, depending on the NIL decisions and staying in college of some of these guys. But then, like, what does 28 and 32 get you? Like, how much higher do you go? Who's wanting to take those and add more? Brooklyn is right above them. They already have too many. Atlanta, I assume, isn't looking for even more picks. Orlando's not. All the teams right in front of them, Sam, already have multiple 1st-round picks. You know what I mean? Like, so Indiana at 22, would they want 2 bites at it for some reason? I guess my point is I think there'd have to be another asset to actually go up far enough for it to be substantial.
Yeah, it's a good point. Really, though, like, they're just trying to find the guy. They would be targeting one player. Like, if they loved Walter, I'm not saying they like Walter Clayton. I'm just using him as an example. Like, if they love Walter Clayton, they think he's going to go like 25th or something.
Sure.
Can you bump up to 24th with these 2 picks and do that? Like, something like that is interesting to me for them.
Yeah.
but they have a lot of options to be able to do things. This contract, though, the Hauser deal, Derek White is on this list as well. Like, they have flexibility to be able to do some of these things.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 6, Jared Allen. He signed that extension last summer for 3 years, $90 million. He has 1 year still on this deal at $20 million for next year. So in total, 4 years, $110 million, 13.8 points per game this year, 9.9 rebounds, 1.9 assists per game. He's not a huge shot blocker, but he is a great interior defender. I love everything he does on that end. And look, I don't know what the numbers say on this, but I do feel like he is at least one of the 2 or 3 best rim running finishers in the league, where if he has a runway and it's him and Garland in a ball screen, particularly Garland, because I think that they have like incredible synergy, I feel like it is an easy lob and it's an easy bucket, and he's going to finish it every single time. The combination of both that rim running ability on offense, where he has genuine gravity diving to the rim, and also the rim protection is just absolutely elite.
Yeah, and I will say as well, I feel like he's underrated or maybe he's not. Like, maybe I just have underrated him throughout his, like, as a short roll player as well. I think he can catch on the move. I think he can short roll finish. I think he can pass the floater. He can take one dribble and finish. So just a little bit of that skill, and everybody gives, and rightfully so, because he took a step forward, Evan Mobley so much love for these two being able to work together. But the fact that Allen is able to do these things in terms of passing and moving and all of that, he's important in that duo as well. It's not just Evan Mobley's progression. It's also that Jarrett Allen can pass and has a little bit of skill in finishing, all of that as well. I think he's a good screen setter. His impact is just really, really good, and it goes to both ends of the floor. And I think sometimes he's forgotten about, because is Donovan Mitchell going to be first team all NBA or not? Is he going to fill that 5th spot? Is Darius going to make it or not? Is Evan going to make it? And you end up then having these debates of who's the most important player. Is it Darius? Is it Mobley? Is Mobley going to be DPOY? Like, all of this stuff. And then, you can even talk about their role players and Ty Jerome and all of that. We've made this mistake and kind of caught ourselves in it, where we don't talk about Jarrett Allen enough. And I just want to emphasize something you said. He's still at $20 million next season. Like, he's on 20 this year. He had the flat, was it 5 for 100 or 4 for 80, where it was 20 every year. He has one more year at exactly 20 million. Then it does start to bump to the point where, all right, maybe he's not going to still stay on this list, but those numbers are still below, like 16% of the cap. I don't know. And he's only 26. I don't think it's going to end up, like, this is why he's this high. That's not going to end up being a negative or bad based on his age and ability.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good contract when he's officially at like 30 million a year. It's not going to be an amazing contract, but I also will just like say that a big piece of this is that he's at, like, what is it, 26, somewhere in that ballpark, 27 or so, versus like 33, which is what I think he's making in the last year of this deal. There's a chance he makes this next year, but it'd be a question. This could be the last year we see Jarrett Allen on this list. But if you think about the number of centers there are in the league that are this good on both ends of the court and like this valuable on both ends of the court, it's really kind of a more limited list than what you think, right? Like, hitting this level on both ends. I'm like trying to think off the top of my head. Like, I'll pull up like a list of positions, right? Like, Wemby is on this list. Zubats is on this list. AD is on this list. Chet is on this list. I mean, like, some people I think would put Jokic on this list, but Jokic's offense is just so much like greater that it doesn't really matter. I think Hartenstein is on this list for sure. After that, it gets real iffy, right? And most of the guys we just noted is that, like, those guys are making damn near max money. So for him to not be on max money at this deal is like pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was just looking like where he was 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. He's like 13th or 14th in the center rankings. If you do AAV. So, and
Yeah.
that's, and the part of this ranking is still because that initial contract was so good, right? And I think the fact he still has one more year of that, and then even the new contract kicking in isn't going to be crazy bad, I think is what ends up leaving him on the list. I would guess next year he's like in the mentions, but it starts to jump up enough that I don't know that he ends up actually making the list.
Yeah. Okay. Number 5, Trey Murphy. This is just like the breakout guy from this year.
Yeah.
And him signing the deal that he did at the extension deadline was just fantastic for the Pelicans. 4 years, $112 million. He's averaging 21 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shooting 45, 36, 89. Continues to grow every single season as an on-ball creator. And that's the reason he's here now still. The level of growth that he showed this year as an on-ball creator after signing this deal and after some of their guys went out with the injuries throughout the year, that's the real difference maker for the Pelicans now moving forward.
And this is one of those where the length of the deal being at the rate they got it for is going to make this look really good if he's the player we saw this season. If he's 20 to 25 a game on 45, 36, 89, doing the things with the ball in his hands that he does, that contract is big time because they have him at that number extending out. Like you're getting high level option 3, potentially option 2 type stuff.
I think you might be getting option 2. Like it's not impossible, but
I
think that the better projection right now is probably 3.
Yeah, I thought he flashed option 2 level stuff. Like I would like to see it for an extended period, a whole season, like all of that, to just know that the percentages would hold. But yeah, man, like he was so good this year. He was definitely, like you said it, the breakout guy that ends up on this list. We knew he was a big time shooter, but the distance he's able to shoot it from, the off the dribble stuff, the 3-level potential scoring that now he was showing, even the passing assist numbers went up. The turnovers are going to go up with it, but really impressive season for him. Even though we only got 53 games of it.
Yeah. With Murphy, the thing that continues to grow is just his comfort in ball screens more than anything. The ball screen comfort level is just crazy to me. Like the fact that he continues to be able to play at pace and understand how to use that pace of play where he's like on his hip, getting guys on his hip and then just like keeping them there at this point. I mean, like if you were to watch like some of his Rice tape and you go back and you watch the Virginia tape, it's stuff that you never would have guessed that he had. Like I really liked him in the draft. I think I had him like 14-ish would be my guess, like somewhere in that ballpark. And I liked him because I thought that he was going to be like an awesome 3-and-D guy. The way that he's improved, and it makes sense. Like he's a late bloomer physically. Like he just was not this big throughout the course of his life. He continued to improve the guard skills at a younger age and like get that dexterity a little bit. But like even at Virginia, he just like didn't have that because his body was so like elongated. Kind of, he was still very skinny. The way that he's filled out his frame over time has allowed him to get like really, really strong. I will say, like, and this is something we've said throughout the year on the show, even while this Trey Murphy breakout has happened, I think he is like a bit overrated on defense. I don't think he's terrible on defense, not even remotely close, but I think he's like more of a neutral as opposed to a like good defender. And I think sometimes he gets thrown in with like the good defender bucket at 6'9", ability to guard wings at a real level. I wouldn't quite say that. But I think he's more of like a neutral on that end, which is like totally fine given where the offense is going to get to. Honestly, to me, I've been like, I mentioned this on the video I did earlier this year. I've wondered if there's like some Chris Middleton outcomes here. And Middleton, I can't remember if he made an all NBA team or not, but like 4-time All-Star, multiple time, exceptionally valuable player, and certainly the second best player on a title team. So I think there are real high level outcomes for Trey Murphy here, but he has to continue to grow. And the good news is that like he does just keep getting better.
Yeah. I mean, he's 24. The offensive growth this year was incredible. I'm glad you mentioned the ball screen stuff, because as I went back through my notes, it was like snaking screens into floaters and all sorts of just ridiculous stuff. I do think he still has to grow. Like if he's going to be like a number 2 option, you got to be able to create, and they're going to put 2 on the ball and those type of things. You have to make the right decisions out of that. And then I agree with you on the defense. I think for me, I put him in that. I don't think he's elite. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's good. I think he's probably neutral. But even if he's a high-end number 3 option, I think just his length and all of that on the defensive end, being neutral, you will take that from that level of offensive output. So I don't think it's an issue. I just don't think sometimes he gets talked about in a way defensively that it's just not the level he's at.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4. Another like real breakout player this year, Aaron Wiggins with Oklahoma City. Aaron Wiggins has 4 years, $35 million remaining on this contract. He's going to make under $10 million a year. Oh, by the way, that is a descending contract to where in the final year, he is scheduled to make $7 million. I love Trey Murphy, but like Aaron Wiggins is going to be making like a quarter of what Trey Murphy is making in 4 years. And that's crazy. He's averaging 12 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists per game, shooting 49, 39, 83. It's even better if you really go over the course of the last, like, what would it be? Probably like 35 games at this point, like where he's had to be like a real useful offensive option for them. Over the last 25 games, he's averaging 16, 4.5, and 2, shooting 50, 43, 83. This is an insane deal.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. And the fun, I love Isaiah Joe, and so I thought like that was going to be a great deal. Wiggins' numbers are below that, and maybe more importantly, it's also a year longer than Isaiah Joe's. Like that's the thing is like 28-29 Sam is at 7.9 million. And as we mentioned, team option on the end of it. So it's just, I think if he played a bigger role, like that's the only thing that keeps this from being the best contract, right? Like I just wonder if there's an argument on like production per amount made and like projection of role with what he's like. It's silly. I understand why we have the guys above him that we do, because again, I spoiled it earlier. Like Brunson is the engine. He's an all NBA level player. And when you have an all NBA player on a non-max deal, that's crazy value. I understand it. This contract is silly. This is just ridiculous. And also like a little bit of a breakout for him though also, right? He's almost doubling his points per game. He's playing 7 more minutes per game. He started 19 more games. His 3-point volume really jumped this year while keeping a good percentage, which I think is really important for him. And he's very reliable for this team in terms of being available to play games when they need him. I'm really interested to see this team's rotation in the playoffs, where Wiggins falls into that rotation and the impact he has.
My guess is that they're going to have to play him as like the 5th guy pretty regularly on this team.
Without one of the bigs?
Or with one of the bigs. Like it's just
in place of one of the bigs. Like they'll go away from the 2 bigs and insert him, or like in place of Dort. Are you saying close games or just in general?
I think there are going to be times where it's in place of Dort. Like against Denver, it'll be Hartenstein and Chet. And then like they'll have to make a call on, okay, do we want Dort on Murray or do we trust Jalen Williams to deal with Murray, like, and we want the offense on the court. Like, what do we do there, right? Against teams like the Lakers, right? Unless you're just like absolutely bludgeoning them on the interior, you probably want the fourth perimeter option out there with Wiggins, right?
Sure.
I feel like he has worked his way into being, a really essential piece of this team. And it's because he's so good just as an off-ball player. Like, he started to very occasionally make like plays off of screens and curls, right? Like, sometimes he'll get like a little curl and then he'll dive to the rim. Sometimes he can like just take a pin down and like flare out for a three. He's an awesome cutter. Like, some of the synergy that he's had with like Hartenstein this year at times has been really, really fun. He's occasionally able to like take side ball screens and be useful there. And then obviously, like, he's just a monster, like in the corners and on the wings as a spot up player. Like, you can trust him to consistently make the right plays defensively. I'm a massive Aaron Wiggins fan at this point. And I'll say this too, like, I didn't love his defense like previously. I think he's been better this year on defense. Like, he gets a lot of the easier matchups because, God, they have Caruso and Kaysen and Dort and J-Dub and, even Shea will occasionally deal with tough matchups. But like, I feel like he's been way better on that end this year too.
Yeah, he's solid there just with his athleticism and his size. It makes him where he can be impactful. I just think it's interesting. Like, he's 7th in minutes per game. He's less than Kaysen Wallace. Kaysen Wallace has played more total minutes. You look at your on-off, though, like Wiggins has been, a very positive there. I'm interested to see. It'll be we've talked about this with the Cavs. I think OKC is another team where optionality is great. Can Mark Dagnall push the right buttons in the right moments, because you do have that option? And then can you keep everybody happy and engaged when it's the game where they don't get a play, or it's the series where they don't get a play, and then bring them back into the fold in the next series where you do need them? I think that will be really interesting for the non-SGA, J-Dub, Chet, Hart. I think Dort's pretty solidified because the defense is so good, but as you mentioned, maybe there's some moments and matchups where it's not.
Yep. Okay, number 3. Number 3 is the player who would be my pick right now for most underrated player in the NBA. If you made me just say one name, this would be the name. It's Ivica Zubac. Yeah. 3 years, $59 million. He signed that extension near the beginning of the year, if I remember correctly. Maybe in the like kind of Augusty days of off season, but 16.5 points per game, 12.5 rebounds per game, 62% from the field. He is a monster on the interior defensively. He's been their anchor this season. He has been so good at being able to just be enormous and take up space and drop coverage for them. But like, the offense is almost more where I want to start. Like, I feel like I forget that he averages almost 17 points a game sometimes.
Play finisher, baby.
Such like dirty work, and like, oh yeah, like James Harden is here and like feeding him from time to time, right? And then it's, oh no, I'm just gonna pick up like a dump off in the dunker spot, and then it's, oh no, like I'm gonna crush you on the offensive glass because I average like 4 offensive rebounds per game, and I'm gonna get a couple of like quick little points that way, right? Like, he is so good at all of the little dirty work shit on offense, and it's awesome.
Play finisher. He does it all the time. Every game that I went back where I have full notes on, and I have double digit of them from Clippers games where I watched and took like intricate notes, it said the same stuff. Always in the right spot defensively, and he's impactful because of it. Big time rebounder, great screen setter, forces switches with his screen setting, and then he finishes plays. And that's a compliment. Like, not all big men are great play finishers in some capacity. The other thing that I absolutely love that Ty Lue does, when you turn on a Clippers game, it's clockwork. The first play of the game is going to who? Yeah. Ivica Zubac. And I love it because they know he's going to do what you just said, the dirty work all game long. So they're going to run, and even sometimes it's a catch and finish. Sometimes it's true post isolation, but it's like, hey, big man, we appreciate you. We thank you for everything you do and you're going to do in this game. So you get the first touch of the game. I love love coaches that do that. I also think it speaks to who Zubac is as a player and what he means to that team. Last point, real fast. I mean, not that we're done, but for me, the fact he was on our list for his previous contract, and then I thought he would go off the list because of his new contract, and I think he went up the list on the new contract, speaks to the jump he made as a player this season.
Yeah, totally. And like, he's now making 19 a year. Like, that's a great number. He's been a top 10 center in the league, like, unquestionably. Like, I know that people are going to freak out when I say this probably, but do you think him or Domantas Sabonis has had a better season this year?
Oh, don't do this.
I think it's him. Like, he has been so good on defense this year that, like, the production is not so different between those two players, between Zubac and Sabonis, where I'm like, this makes up for the drastic defensive difference between the two. Sabonis this year is averaging like 19, 14, and 5 or 6 or something. Zubac is averaging almost 17, 13, and way fewer assists.
The real difference, there's a difference, right? But the points per game isn't crazy, and Sabonis is doing it in more minutes per game, which is important. Zubac has also played 76 games, Sabonis 65. The rebounds is 1.5, but the offensive rebounds is the same. It's really the playmaking, right? Which then it comes down to team construct. Do you need Sabonis's playmaking? Because if you don't, then Zubac is the better option with the defense and the play finishing and all of that.
Well, and here's what I'll say too, right? Like, so it would be a reasonable argument to say that Zubac is playing with James Harden now, and James Harden is, a guy that has consistently fed centers, right?
Yep.
Since De'Aaron Fox has been traded from the Sacramento Kings, Domantas Sabonis' averages 15 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2.5 turnovers, shooting 54, 17, 66. As compared to before it, where it was unsurprisingly drastically better because that synergy between Fox and Sabonis was great. He was averaging 20, 14, and 6.5, shooting 60, 46, 77. And like part of this is like Sabonis has been a little bit in and out of the lineup recently. Like there have been some injury things happening there. But like, I don't know, man. I think that we often, me, like I've never been quite as high on Sabonis, but I think other people are. But to me, like Zubac has been, there is a case this guy is one of the 5 best centers in the league this year to me. Especially with Wemby like going down and getting hurt, and Zubac playing now 30 more games than Wemby. Like he has been that good this season.
And for the, this exercise,
let me be clear, derived more value to his team than Wemby, is not anywhere near as good as Wemby.
Yeah. Sabonis makes over $40 million now and is almost at 50 in 27-28 when Zubac is at 21. So we're talking about more than double for this specific. And I know you were just talking player to player. I understand that, but I'm saying when you factor in the contract and like that right there shows the value that we're having the Sabonis versus Zubac debate, and Zubac is making half of what Sabonis is making.
So this is just EPM. This is a single advanced number, just take it for what it's worth right now. Right. In their estimated wins metric, where do you think Ivica Zubac ranks this season among all players in the NBA?
All players. 30th.
Ivica Zubac ranks 5th.
Wow.
Because he's a monster on defense and he's incredibly efficient on offense. And he's low usage on offense, but he's still averaging 17 points despite being low usage.
Yeah.
And, look, is he the 5th best player in the league? Absolutely not. But it's an interesting snapshot to me of the value that he is deriving for his team just by being massive on the interior, protecting the basket, playing great drop coverage with his angles. He has been there's just the best dirty work guy in the NBA. he's just a monster. He has elevated beyond anything that like Clint Capella was with Harden. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
I've loved that Clippers team all year. I'm excited to see them in whatever version of the postseason they get.
Number 2, Denny Avdia.
I mean, there's a whole 20 minutes on Denny Avdia from a couple episodes ago too.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, do we need to dive deep into the Denny hive? I feel like we've done it once a week over the course of the last 2
Rightfully
months
so.
on this
To be clear,
Yeah.
rightfully so. But
Denny Avdia has 3 years, $40 million left on this contract. Oh, by the way, it is a descending contract where he makes $11.87 million in 2027-28. It is bonkers. It is bonkers that is his contract. Washington Wizards, man, not Jeff Winger, my God, shout out community. Michael Winger and Will Dawkins, like, great job getting this deal signed. Probably should have kept him for the 2 first rounders. Like, unbelievable the way that he has grown and thrived, particularly as a creator himself with the ball this year. He's just an absolute truck stick of a player. The way that he uses his shoulders, the way that he drives to the rim, the way that he is able to just brush off opposing players in transition and semi-transition, everything. It's just crazy how good he is.
Yeah, that's been the big thing for me, is just what he's been able to do off the bounce. Him getting to the free throw line is really, really impressive. Like, just he's just like super physical with the way he does it. And it shows up in the numbers. Like, he's right around like Jokic and Tatum in terms of free throw attempts per 100 possessions, so you kind of take pace out of it, and like, how often is he getting to the free throw line? And so, those are top 15 guys in regards to that. I think he can pass a little bit. The assist, not a little bit. He's a really good passer.
He can definitely pass.
Yeah. I guess it depends on the role, right? Like, I think the role he's in right now, he's a big time passer. I think the role he's in right now is perfect for him, right? Like, I don't know that you can go like straight, he's the primary initiator, but he can definitely do some of that stuff. And then the 3-point shooting has settled in nicely over the last 2 seasons, right? This was a big question, Sam, his first 3 seasons in the league. But over the last 2 seasons, on almost 4 attempts a game, 147 games played, 37% from 3. So it's settling in really nice. He rebounds, and he plays a ton of games. And to me, this is something I've really valued this year, is availability, right? And obviously other people, not the first one to say it, but 76 games on average over his last 4 seasons. And, this season's not even completely over yet. So just a big time player. And as I've mentioned, I love descending contracts. The fact he's on one is he's 24 too. Like, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Him and Tumani, both 24 years old, both under contract for a few years, both on ridiculous contracts. It's got to be exciting for the Blazers.
So if you want to go over the longer sample, Denny Avdia's most recent 44 games, 20 points per game, 8.2 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 49.7% from the field, 37% from 3, 77% from the line. If you want to go over a shorter period here where he's been like dominant over the last 13 games, 27 points per game, 11 rebounds, 5.5 assists per game, shooting 52, 46, 82 over his last 13.
How many times is he getting to the free throw line in those 13?
Good question. He's getting to the line 7 times per game.
Unreal.
In that run. And look, this is March basketball. We need to be very clear that this is like, he is not a 27, 11, and 6 guy. I feel good about that. Like, the last game came against Chicago. The last few games, Chicago, Toronto, Atlanta. All due respect to Chicago, who's playing well right now, but like, the defense is not exactly great there. They're winning with offense. The Knicks before that, Sacramento before that, And then you had Cleveland and Boston, where he had 17 and like 10 basically in both of those games. Then Denver, where he had 36, and they have been a dumpster fire on defense recently.
Yes,
Memphis has been a dumpster fire on defense recently. He went for 31, 16, and 8. And then you have Washington, Toronto, the Knicks again, and then Golden State is in this range as well. Honestly, like the 10-point loss to Golden State where he had 34, 16, and 6, to me, that's the best game I've seen him play recently. This dude has been so good late in the season and is not the entire reason, but a significant portion of the reason why the Blazers, like, they're going to win 35 this year. Like they're going to get to that level. I never would have guessed that they would get to that level. It's been very, very impressive what they've been able to do. And it's been super impressive that they have just like not quit on their season. And Denny's been the biggest reason why.
And last thing for me is just you've seen year over year improvement from him.
Well, and let me interrupt you real quick because you're going to the place that I was going to go to close this. What do you think the ceiling is here, given that we've seen the season over season growth?
Yeah. So just like, even when you look at per 100 possessions, 12 and a half, 17, 17, 22, 8, 27 in terms of points, the assists every year, the rebounds even grew, and then they've kind of balanced out now because it's ridiculous. The free throw attempts. All right. I usually shoot low on these things. I would say third option offensively that provides a ton of versatility. I just don't know that I see him getting to like 25 points a game. I don't know, though. I guess if you're scoring 20 a game, that could be a second option with what he does creation-wise. But I think that, like, I think he's your third option. Like, you have a primary guy, maybe another big-time scorer, or maybe it's your big man finishing, whatever. But he fits right in that mold. Like, I don't think he's your primary guy, and then I think he can do some primary stuff off the bench, or he's not coming off the bench, but like in the second
against
unit,
bench units.
Yeah, whenever you stagger him.
Yeah. So there are 50 players in the NBA currently averaging 20 points a game. So if you think he's going to average 20, like, he's probably a number 2, but is it like number 3 on a really good team?
I think, yeah.
Number 2 on like a, playoff team kind of vibe. I think the West is loaded. I just said there's a chance Trey Murphy makes an all-star game. I think there's certainly a chance Denny makes an all-star game at some point based off of what we've seen. Wouldn't blow my mind by any stretch. The shooting improvement is where it's going to come if he takes that next jump. I mean, look, he's making like 46% from 3 over his last little run here. I don't know if he's always going to do that, but I think that there is some world where he can get to, I don't know, like 30, 39 to 39 consistently on like more volume than what he shoots now. And if he does that, the big thing for him next is there a middle game that he can develop? Like, can he start to use his strength to take guys down onto the block and then like shoot like post turnaround fades, right? Like, can he do stuff like that? Yeah. That'll be what's interesting to me. And oh, by the way, like, we haven't even talked about the defense in this game yet. He's a good defender. Like, that's the other crazy thing. Like, that's really what got him this contract, is that he was a really good defender. And this was before he broke out. He signed this deal, if I remember correctly, in the extension period in like before his 4th season started. He is, like, there's stuff there. There's some real stuff here with Denny that like you can see growth coming if they so choose to utilize him in this way.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, number 1. I'm sorry, this is a little bit boring, but it is Jalen Brunson. This will be the last year he is number 1, and will probably be his last year on the list, I would guess, because he does have a player option in the 3rd year of this deal. But they still have him for 2 years at $80 million after this season, basically. And he's an all-NBA player at 2 years, $80 million, averaging 26, 3, and 7.5, shooting almost 50, 40, 85. Like, I'm sorry, it's Brunson. Like, if we're not including max deals here.
Yeah.
He signed this sweetheart deal in order to get like his boys to the Knicks, and it's a huge win for the Knicks now moving forward that they have Jalen Brunson on this relatively cheap deal, where it allows you to go out and get Karl Towns, who's on a very expensive deal, right? Like, that's the whole reason that the Towns deal worked for them, is that they had Mikal Bridges on a cheap deal. They have Josh Hart on a cheap deal. They have Jalen Brunson on a below market deal. That's why they've taken a bigger leap this year, right? Like, it's because of this contract as much as anything else.
I mean, if you just look at our all NBA, I'm just looking at like our last, like the names, right? Every single other player is either on a max, which is not eligible, or there's a couple guys on, like if Jalen Williams makes it, he's still on his rookie deal. But everybody else other than Jaren Jackson Jr., which we explained earlier why he didn't make it this time around. And I think that just speaks to why Brunson is first, because I don't know that he's probably in that conversation for first team all NBA, like that fifth spot. I think in the straw poll, I don't think he's going to be for me, but I think he will be for some people.
Well, so here's the real issue for Brunson now.
It's close. He's playing today though, right? He's playing right now.
Yes. So the Knicks currently have 5 games left, including today's game, and he needs, I believe,
4
to play 4 of those in order to get eligible.
So they have 5 counting tonight's. Is that right?
They have 5 counting tonight's against the Suns, which, like you said, he's currently playing in. And then they have the Celtics on Tuesday. They have the Pistons on Thursday. And then there's a back-to-back against Cleveland on that Friday. I would guess that that's the game they target to sit him.
Yeah.
If you're going to sit one. And then they have him play against Brooklyn in the final game. That's my guess if they try to make this work.
Yeah. So, I mean, and like obviously not hoping anything or wishing or putting this out into the realm, but just some little thing, right, that could come up. Not even a long-term thing, but just a contusion or something that could, stiffen you up enough that you have to miss a game because you can't get loosened up for the game on Tuesday or whatever, puts this in jeopardy. But I mean, again, like just when you think about that, all of these other guys are on max deals, of some kind, even like Cade is on his, gonna be on his rookie, his rookie extension, rookie max extension, and Mobley, like he's the only one that's not making that % of the cap in terms of what he signed on the deal. So,
yeah. And if I'm trying to remember when his extension eligibility starts. Is it this off season?
So SpotTrack says it's not till 2027.
Yeah, I don't think that's right.
Well, because he hasn't even started the new deal he signed.
Oh, you're right.
So
my brain had failed. Yeah. You are right. He hasn't even started that contract yet.
He's at 25 this year on the previous contract. The extension kicks in next year at 35. So yeah, I bet this is right because you can't extend off the first year of that deal. It would be the second year. So, I mean,
that is right. Keith's always right. So why would I ever question him first and foremost? But yeah, that is right. Yeah, that's crazy. That is insane. I will say this now, just in general. Brunson's number one. Like, I don't know if we need to continue talking about Brunson at number one.
Sure.
This video could also be about who has the worst agent, is one of the comments here.
So I almost said this earlier and then I wasn't. Okay, I'm going to say it because I don't know who Aaron Wiggins' agent is. I have no idea. I'm not trying to call out agents. That's not what I'm about. But every time I say, I can't believe this deal got signed, I have to wonder, like, I wonder if he's pissed at his agent right now.
So here's the thing on this. Almost all of these deals, in some respect, were limited by any bevy of factors, right? Sure. So like Derek White, I think signed his max number, if I remember correctly, in terms of what his extension was. And if you're Derek White and you're 30 you probably want to get paid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you want to make sure you lock in. I think it was like 120 or something, or maybe it was 90. I think you locked in 390. Herb Jones was artificially limited by like what he could sign as an extension, I think through the Arenas rule. And it made the most sense to be able to get him paid now and then like be able to move it forward a little bit. Move forward his free agency a little bit, if I remember correctly there. Josh Hart just signed a deal that was like completely reasonable at the time. He's making $20 million, right? Peyton Pritchard had like not established himself really as like, there were questions if he was a long-term NBA player at that point. Like he signed that deal coming off of 6 points per game, shooting 41, 36, 75 that year. Right.
Yep.
If you're him, you're like, okay, like I'll lock in 30. Like, let's make sure I get 30 million. Jared Allen, signed a 3-year, $90 million extension. Like that's a fine deal for him, to me, to sign. The reason he's on this list is because he was still on an under market deal, and that number is still extended into next year. Trey Murphy, again, like coming into this year, hadn't really explored the on-ball stuff, right? And you lock in at $112 million. That's life-changing money. Aaron Wiggins is the one where like I can't really defend that because it's just too long. Like if you're Aaron Wiggins, I don't know why you're doing 5 years. That one's like kind of indefensible to me. But Denny like was a defense first player that couldn't shoot. I will say that I thought this was probably low for him, and I thought he probably should have gone to the restricted free agency market instead of signing at 55 million. But you know what? Like if you're that dude, why not lock in at 55? Right? Like just make sure you get the money. Again, I'm not going to really defend that one. Brunson was a total example of just like he did the team a favor because he wanted his boys there. Yep. Right? Zubats, I think, signed his max number this summer coming off of a season where he was like a solid starting center. Right? So
Austin
I say
Reeves,
this to say like, yeah, like Austin Reeves, the same boat as Herb Jones.
Was a
right?
restricted free agent where that was the number unless somebody, like I think it was San Antonio and some Utah, like maybe had money or something. And like seemed like LA made it clear they would match. And so why would you tie up your money? And so like he couldn't go out and get an offer sheet. So he took what he, and like, I think the other thing is, I think sometimes for me, it's easy, like bet on yourself. Like that would be my thing with Aaron Wiggins is why the years, but also
right.
$50 million. It's easy for me to say that whenever you're looking at this like stability of $50 million. Like that would be my thing sometimes is why not go a little bit shorter? But then it's also like, who knows what the free agency market's going to look like? Maybe it doesn't even end up being that. I think it would, but I understand why guys want to lock in the long-term money.
Totally. The Wiggins one, it's just too long is the thing. Like, yes, I understand there's a difference between $30 million and $50 million, right? Like, or 45, whatever he signed, right? But like, I think that given the way that that the money is exploding in the TV deal, that it's just probably not a deal worth signing. Right.
I just wanted to read this real quick on Pritchard this is NBC Sports Boston, just an article I found.
Yeah.
Look, locking up Pritchard at a modest number helps regardless of how the future unfolds. If he meets the hype, the Celtics have a pin. But here's if Pritchard still struggles to consistently crack Boston's rotation, his salary is trade friendly and gives the Celtics flexibility in crafting a variety of future packages. Like that was written on the Pritchard extension. And like, I'm not shocked. Like that just gives context of what kind of season he was coming off of.
Yeah. So like I say this maybe in like defensive agents a little bit. There are a couple here where like I don't know how great it was, but by and large, every deal that was signed, you can very easily make a case for, right? Like you can very easily just make a case and say, this was the right deal to do at the time, right? So this deal is not a shot at agents, or this podcast is not a shot at agents, many of whom I am friends with and who I generally enjoy dealing with, and who by and large I think get a very bad rap by people publicly who don't really work with agents all that often. There are bad agents that I don't really enjoy working with and try not to work with. The odds are, if you talk to me and you're an agent, you are not one of those people. But I'm telling you guys, like, there are reasons these things happen, first and foremost, and second, by and large, agents are like not as evil as what people think. Like, they're just not. Like Shaka Smart came out and said something about like agents in the NIL space, and the NIL space is a little bit different because that's like,
I would say that one is a touch different.
That's the Wild West right now, and there are people more just like transacting deals in that space as opposed to like genuinely representing players in that space.
If you're a player or parent listening to this podcast, find representation that actually provides value to you, because there are agencies out there that are actually providing value in some capacity, not just talking to schools and getting the offer and then passing it along to you. Like, go find agents that are providing value.
Yeah. But by and large, NBA agents basically good and mostly good at their jobs. Like, most agents are quite good at their jobs.
To the comments point, though, none of them are happy to see their clients on this list. Like, I've talked to an agent.
Probably true.
I've had an agent reach out after we've done these, like, I get so tired of seeing him on this list. People don't understand. It wasn't our fault, whatever. And I'm like, I get it.
Totally.
But, like,
it's genuinely, there's real context behind so many of these things. So just don't assume that if a player is on this list that the agent did a bad job.
Yeah,
I can promise you that is not always true.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Okay. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Have you watched anything fun, or have you just been all basketball recently?
Nah, it's been all basketball. I watched I'm movied out. I watched The Accountant the other day. That was enough.
Yeah,
like, I gotta. I mean, Ranny says my 50-50 commitment is a hard commitment to The Accountant too. So
I agree with Ranny for what it's worth on that.
I'm locked into that. So, no movie takes over on Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, Motor City Hoops Substack. Will be a lot of fun with the playoffs coming up and the Pistons actually involved in that. So if you're a Knicks fan, if you're a Pacers fan, who look like the most likely matchups, I'll have a lot of what I think is really good content over there on both teams. Probably some video breakdowns of how whatever team won or what I thought was cool from the game, etc. So check that out. Even if you don't subscribe, just go check it out after games. Pistons Pulse podcast, otherwise Game Theory podcast, right here with the Sam Vecenie.
I have seen a lot of new releases. I will have seen many more new releases because I'm flying to the US tomorrow, which means that I have movies downloaded and I will just catch up on movies while on the plane for the most part. I mean, look, 16-hour flight, like I have to find things to do on that flight, but I'll have Andrew and I will talk about movies at some point. We'll run through. I've seen Mickey 17. I've seen Black Bag. I've seen The Monkey. I've seen Borderline, Last Breath, like quite a few fun things at this point that I've seen. And also, have you ever seen the Kill Bill movies, Bryce?
No, actually though, the family went downstairs. I've never been more disheartened and like scared for humanity. My family chose to go watch Wicked instead of the Final Four last night, and I was like literally heartbroken. Yeah. But my wife said the movie sucked, was not impressed. Even my daughter was like, I was like, how's the movie, sis? It's
are they Wicked heads? Like are they into like the lore, or
I don't know, but they came away unimpressed. Plus the movie was 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like, I don't know. They were not impressed. So that's the Simon family review of Wicked. I don't feel bad for them. They tried to watch a movie during the Final Four, so I'm glad the movie sucked and they wasted their night.
So I enjoyed Wicked. I didn't think it was like amazing, but like I probably wouldn't have had it nominated for Best Picture. I think it was, I don't know, maybe like my 30th. I watched 100. I literally go to my Letterboxd account because this weekend I had fun, for me at least, and went through and ranked all of my favorite movies from 2024, 2023, and 2022. I've seen 140 2022 releases, which is just crazy to me. But in 2024, I've seen like 115 or so. I think it was like my 30th favorite movie, something like that. It was fine. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't know. They were unimpressed. So
The Wicked heads are out. Like maybe there's big fans of Kristen Chenoweth. That's the issue.
yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. CJ and I are trying to keep up with transfer rankings. Go to, I don't know, go to Bryce's Substack. Like, go subscribe to that thing. Go to the Game Theory YouTube channel. We're up over 21,000 subscribers now. Thank you all. We really appreciate you guys coming in droves, hitting that subscribe button. It really helps grow the channel, really helps grow the show. Gives us a real opportunity to do some really, really fun stuff. So we appreciate all of that immensely. We appreciate, all of our fun sponsors like PrizePicks, SKIMS, MITOPURE, and NUTRAFOL. We will be back on Thursday. We will be doing worst contracts in the league. I will be in the US. You will see my sweet background. You will see a hotel room at some point on Thursday. But that's all we got. Until next time, we'll talk soon.